Hey, I'm Jack River and this is To Rebel in the Times. This episode was recorded from my home on Yuin country, and I would like to pay my special and genuine respect to elders past, present and emerging, and pay very special respect to any First Nations listeners. This podcast is my chance to talk to other artists about the ways they're rallying for change in our industry, our country and our society, and writing a roadmap for other artists and listeners to break down outdated systems. And perhaps one of the most unstoppable artists in our country right now is this guy.
My whole motto was always do simple things great and let the big things work themselves out. And so that was always my plan. I was like, just do small things amazing. Make small things amazing. And like just start by changing, little things in people's lives.
Amazing is an understatement. I've been pretty in awe of what Briggs has been able to achieve in lockdown alone, from releasing satirical lockdown music videos with Tim Minchin about the Australian government's bushfire response, to publishing a children's book that quickly became Australia's #1 seller. Honestly, how does he do it? But it's business as usual for Briggs. He's constantly working and creating, writing comedy scripts, hosting global radio shows, acting, or giving a platform or support system to a younger artist. I'm so excited to be able to share this conversation with you, but we also barely scratch the surface here. I would highly suggest you do yourself a favour after this episode, set aside a solid chunk of time and get in your own Briggs rabbit hole. Briggs and I caught up just as Victoria started going back into lockdown. In true isolation style, this conversation took place over Zoom between my home studio and Briggs in his car in Shepparton. So, Briggs, thank you so much for being a part of To Rebel in the Times. I've never been more excited to have a conversation.
Cool, thank you for having me. I'm in my car at the moment where I conduct most of my business.
Okay, so I knew you did a lot of stuff, like a lot, and I've been following you for a long time, but spending the time over the past few weeks to actually grasp how much you really do has absolutely fucking blown my mind. So do you rest? Have you rested at all during this corona time in our world?
No. To put it shortly and quickly, no. I get restless, and if I'm not doing something, I get pretty bored. I've always got to be making something, so I'll rest when I'm done. I think that's my normal approach to everything I do. I'll rest when I'm finished. Like, I think going into Corona and, COVID, whatever, it was an opportunity for me to, to adapt and switch up and try and accomplish some new things with the challenges in place, with our environment. And so, yeah, I didn't really find it like a time to really chill out or anything like that. It was, if anything, it was more a license for me to go harder.
Yeah, I love that. I feel a little bit the same, so it's good to know. But you've honestly done so much. I have so much respect for your work ethic. So your incredibly important book, My Home, My Heartbeat, released this May, walks the reader through the shoes of Indigenous Australian heroes, celebrating their stories and their victories whilst coming back to this beautiful refrain: my history is my strength, my future is my own, my community is a part of me, it's my time, my heartbeat.
Yeah.
When did these words or this understanding of yourself and your people's legacy begin to sink in? And did you feel these words growing up, or did you wish you could have heard them earlier? Or
I just, when I was formatting the book, because it was already a song, obviously, the children came back. And when I was formatting the book, it was something I really wanted to make the book stand on its own. So it just wasn't a lyric printout of something that I'd already written. And I really wanted to update it and make it, super accessible for kids, and also just give a message that maybe they hadn't heard yet, or you know, I guess as well as like, yeah, you know, the message that maybe I needed to hear when I was a kid. So like, it's part of like, when I was making that book, when I was writing it, you just want to make the best product and the best piece of art that you can in that moment. And, you know, in a book, you have all these opportunities to say so much that you don't get to say in a song, and especially for the age demographic. And yeah, like, you know, it was the kind of words that I felt, you know, kind of encompassed the whole, you know, spirit of that book, of that art, and the whole idea around it. You know, it was meant to be, I don't get a lot of opportunities to do, you know, G-rated stuff, so
Amazing. Or you don't choose to do G-rated.
Yeah. So yeah, it was like, you know, it was my opportunity to say something, you know, really quickly, and like it went nuts. I didn't expect it to do what it had done.
I think is it the best-selling Australian children's book right now?
Like something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like the best-selling kids book or something. It's crazy.
It's so crazy, and it's so cool to see Thelma in there, and yeah, I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's just good to be able to celebrate for once.
Yeah, it's, absolutely. And can you tell me a little bit about growing up on Yorta Yorta country and Shepparton, and I guess when music became a big part of your life, what were the moments around that?
Like it's funny, like I'm sitting outside of my childhood house right now, and I'm looking at the primary school down the street, in which I loathed to go every morning and hated. And, you know, it was a pretty standard kind of rural city upbringing. You know, well, I thought it was pretty standard until like you get a little bit older and you start to see, you know, a lot of the symptoms and stuff of, you know, of racism and a racist town in which we grew up. Like, our community was really strong. We have like the largest Indigenous population outside of Melbourne, or any capital city, and I think more than, you know, anywhere else, like per capita, and in Victoria. And so there was a strong sense of community here. So it wasn't like we felt, or I felt, very alone, but you definitely felt excluded. You know, that exclusion, which I feel like is the, you know, the main source of you know, racism, was very prevalent, and it's something, you know, an obstacle that we dealt with and still continue to deal with every day.
Yeah, and that, I guess that feeling of exclusion seems to have propelled you to create so many, including kind of, you know, record label, children's book, music, all of these things are so inclusive, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it was important to build something and build things up, and like help build other people as well, you know, like as many as you can, or as many as you want. So, you know, it's not enough just for my own success. There has to be, you know, other success, you know, to really feel like people are winning and there's a shift.
I can see that the name of your record label, Bad Apples, came from a song and turned into a record label. Also, The Children Came Back inspired your children's book, My Home, My Heartbeat. So it's like throughout these things that you're creating, you're coming up with the philosophy and your belief, a kind of like dream, and then you make a vision, a physical reality, especially for Indigenous people. Is this what's happening?
I just try to milk every idea that I have, and like try to figure out how many different ways, you know, I can flip this thing. You know what I mean? It's like when you hear about, you know, books being turned into movies, and, you know, and screenplays coming from, you know, from theatre to, you know, just the growth of an idea. I was always interested in like, okay, like if this is the seed, you know, where does this go? Like, what is the growth of this? So like, I'm not too interested in creating stuff that is just one
dimensional
thing.
Yeah.
So, and like it doesn't really turn into anything else. So like sometimes those things are just fun to make, and you put them out and away you go, you know what I mean? But the real fulfillment I get is from an idea that has a plan and there is longevity. That's my main process when I comes to creating something. It's like, how many different ways can we flip this thing to, you know,
make it a reality and entrench it deeply.
Yeah, well, to change someone else's reality too, and like, and give it importance, you know, like, and relevance and stuff. Like if things are one dimensional, they're not normally relevant, or at least they're not relevant for too long. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's awesome. When, like, does music come first for you, and then those kind of the will to change comes out of a song, or is it more kind of interrelational?
Yeah, I think at this point it's like everything feeds into everything. So it's like music is first just because that's what I've always done.
And it's fun, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I know it like the back of my hand. It's like, you know, when we started the record label, it was always going to be hip hop first because that's what I know.
Yeah.
I can do that, you know, in my sleep. And then, but it was like, if we really want to change things and challenge stuff, we need to access artists like Alice Skye and push her to the forefront and push her story. And so, you know, young girls can see themselves in these positions in, you know, and being artists and being songwriters and being great. You know what I mean? So, you know, music was always first just because that was my, you know, wheelhouse. That's where I played the most, and that's what I knew how to do. But now it's kind of like things are a little bit more even-handed. It's like I can go and, you know, I have cut my teeth in writing scripts and stuff, so I can start over there now. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to always stem from, you know, a musical endeavor.
Yeah, that's bloody epic to have created that kind of palette of ways you can express and change things.
Well, I just like making stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's first and foremost, you know. Even in ISO, I hit up my mate Ben, who's like a crazy talented chef. Like he's a dude with an actual gift, and like got him to teach me how to make garlic bread. You know what I mean? Like I've got to like make stuff. Like
I love
that's
it.
where it's the creation that I really, you know, I think that's why I'm surprised at the success of the book, because I don't really think about the other side too much. I'm just more intent on the process of creating it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because once I make it, I kind of put it down, I walk away, and then I go try and make something else.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, hey, that book you wrote is coming out. I'm like, oh, word.
Yeah,
okay.
I think it's always so good to hear. And I feel the same about creating things. I never, ever think of the other side. It's always the fun of making it. And I think it's reassuring when you know that about someone, that it's not, you know, about the other side. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
So if we could talk Bad Apples, the label, for a moment.
Yeah.
Coming back to the song first, the lyrics of the song, your song Bad Apples, talk about kids who have had the system against them, kids who are more likely to go to jail than make it to year 12. The lyrics in this song are calling to give them a chance and give them what they need to succeed. Instead of just singing about this, you went and created Bad Apples, the record label, signing amazing artists like Alice, Skye and Nookie, and literally creating the support structure for young artists to thrive and get backing and access world-class guidance. So like how did you take this from lyrics and that intention in a song to reality? I know that's a bloody big question. But how can you describe some of those moments that pushed it into a reality?
I grew up in a community in Shepparton of overachievers. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
Like the community that I grew up in was always doing something extraordinary, something different, something like that was pushing the boundaries and like anomalies. And so like I just took the blueprints and the structures that were already around me as a kid and all the things that I'd seen my parents do and my family do, and put that same work ethic and the same method into creating a record label. So like I was talking with my manager at the time, Sam, and I said like, I could probably do it. like yeah. That was it. I was like, I could probably do that. Like I know rap music. It's like, my whole motto was always do simple things great and let the big things work themselves out. And so that was always my plan. I was like, just do small things amazing. Make small things amazing, and like just start by changing little things in people's lives. And the whole purpose of the label was to kind of give like a bunch of Indigenous kids the opportunity and the business acumen that like the Hilltop Hoods gave me. Mm-hmm. In the fact that we could create and turn myself into a business and turn myself into an earner and be my own boss and understand, that this thing that we do is a brand and is a business, and trying to teach these kids how to run their music careers as a business.
Which is so awesome that you look at it in that way, and that you're providing that guidance alongside.
Well, they're already artists, creativity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it, and that's.
They don't need me to tell them how to make art. Like
yeah,
like they don't need me to tell them how to make art. But what they might need me to help them with is how to push things and when to push, and how things may roll out, and also just understand that like sometimes things just don't work all the time. I know it looks like everything I touch and everything I do works, but like there's for every one thing that does work, there might be 5 or 10 the things that don't.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But the whole purpose of it is like I've never quit when something sucked or something didn't work as well as I thought it would, or something. I'd always just been like, okay, well, next one, let's go.
Yeah, which is so inspiring to all of the artists around you, myself included. Seeing someone continually do shit, it's really cool. So thank you.
Well, it's like what else are you going to do? You know what I mean? Like you're an artist or you're not, and it's like if you make things, you're going to make things.
Yeah. And
like nobody's telling you not to. Nobody's asking you for it. You have to first and foremost make these things because that's what you do.
It's up to you. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the business will come later. But like if you are a creator, like, and that's what you do, it's like you will find a way to make things.
I haven't asked you this before. I'm sure people ask you all the time what it means, but can you tell me about Briggs for PM and Senator Briggs? Because some people actually really want you in politics, and we need to know what's happening there.
Yeah, I just can't see myself like hand on the Bible, swearing an oath to the Queen that I'm going to uphold the framework of Parliament. Like that's not really in my being.
Yeah.
Like if you can do that, if you can swear the oath to the Queen that you're going to uphold the conduct of Parliament and be good, and
Have tea with Lizzie and shit.
Yeah, cool. That's all good. Like, but like that's just not me. And like, the whole purpose of like, it's like Senator Briggs, and it's just funny to me.
Yeah,
that's all. It's just funny to me.
So do you see yourself at all as like a people's politician in the work that you do, or it's just funny?
No, it's like, well, like, the Senator Briggs thing comes from a Simpsons joke, because like that's what Homer thinks that he's going to be when he robs a Quickie Mart.
Yeah,
he has a dream that he would be senator, on a plantation house somewhere, and Marge is a go-go dancer, and like that's the joke. It's like, senator. Like, what would life be like if I robbed the Quickie Mart? And like that's where it really comes from.
Yeah. Okay.
and then people would be like, well, you can't be a senator. And I was like, it's like, why not? You know what I mean? Like, I've done all this other stuff, but like it's a massive, like, it's a big kind of it's a good troll for all my for all my detractors. Like, you can't be prime minister. And it's like, yes, I can. No.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
well, one day.
And it's just like a succinct, nice title. You know what I mean? And it's a shout out to Eric B as well, a hip hop godfather, Eric B for president. So there's a hip hop history to that title as well. So yeah,
cool.
but like I don't ever intend to have a boring job. So
amazing.
So yeah,
okay,
I'll be
that's good to know.
Yeah, no, I feel like I'm more influential not towing the party line and saying whatever I want,
whenever I totally agree.
How I want.
Yeah, I love that. The role of comedy in your career so far has been pretty prolific, with songs like House Fire with Tim Minchin, or the film Clip for Life is incredible, and obviously all of your other work, writing and acting. And you seem like a very natural comedian, which is great, a great tool to have in the belt that some of us like me do not have. But is using comedy in most things you do an active decision?
I just think it's just who I am.
Yeah, it's natural.
Yeah, it's like comedy's just always been a part of the way that I make sense of the world. Through analogies and the sketches and stuff that I've written. And yeah, the idea was that I was able to make sense of the world through comedy. And like, that's how I learned to make sense of a lot of, global political things. And, if it was Bill Burr or Dave Chappelle or Eddie Murphy, or Patrice O'Neill or Bill Hicks, these are the guys, or George Carlin,
the kind of guys. Yeah.
Well, it's just like, sometimes, it softens the blow for some people, but for me, it was like really sharp. Like everything was so sharp, and it was like, if that softens the blow, it's because they're not getting hit with a sledgehammer. It's like they're getting a silencer,
Yeah, sometimes it can be far more succinct than.
Yeah, and these people, these dudes, sum up, the way you're feeling or the state of politics really quickly, and there was a lot of power to that, and it was something that I think just always resonated with me.
In Australia, how we've got a bit of a take a joke, mate culture, and we don't have a great track record of taking things seriously. Everything's kind of always turned into a joke. Do you think there's an element of that means our culture is afraid of truth, or do you think it's something that is positive in our culture and that will be conducive to some kind of progression?
I think a lot of like Australian comedy, like everything else, is just imported. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And Australia Australia's big export, I feel, is arrogance and entitlement. Like, you know, to be, you know, recall ourselves as a lucky country and whatnot, without really acknowledging,
what's really going on,
what luck really is. Luck is dispossession. Like really kind of dismantling 200 years of occupation and dispossession of Indigenous people. Like, you're really able to build a wealthy country when you don't pay for anything. And so, like, I think as well as, like, Australia has a rich, comedy, a comedy industry that is full of, like, talented comedians, but and the good ones do reflect, on Australia really truthfully. But Australia, collectively, Australia as a country has not ever really acknowledged the dispossession outside of lip service and ornamental kind of gestures, I feel. So, like, like the best comedy comes from truth and tragedy. You know what I mean? So we've got a lot of truth and tragedy here, but I don't feel like Australia has really tapped into it yet.
Of course, recently we're all aware of this surge in cultural attention and awareness around injustices globally, and then Australia kindly cottoned on to their own injustices, in particular Indigenous deaths in custody and the disproportion of Indigenous people in incarceration in Australia. But it would be insane not to discount the hundreds of years and tens of years that people in our country have been working toward change, mostly Indigenous people. But you are included in this group of people who have been working for years, not just a couple of months.
Yeah.
Do you think, I think we've spoken earlier and you've said, it's just we've got to keep on doing the work and nothing's different about this last few months. Can you talk to that a bit and where you're sitting with, feeling about this time we're living in?
I just feel like every single time something like this happens, it always feels different. But pragmatically looking at it, to me, it feels the same. I don't feel like there's much difference to the other times, honestly.
Yeah, so, it's not a magic pill that fixes anything, especially in our country.
No, and it's a lot of the boring work that people. It's not very romantic. It's not a protest with thousands of people. It's policy advocacy and infrastructure building and enterprise building and business building and employment and health. It's all these kind of boring things that really do change the lives of people and really does, better the lives. Like, I feel like a lot of people are happy to latch themselves to a protest because it's kind of exciting.
Yeah, and it's one day in the calendar.
Yeah, and then they put it down, they put their placard down and, job done, and, they feel very moved. But I just feel like I wrote it on my Instagram. It's like, you did that yesterday. What are you doing today? Yeah. So
what are you doing every single day? Yeah.
It's a call to action to be like, do something. You don't have to do everything, but you have to do something.
Yeah.
And like, you know, while people are uncomfortable at the moment, is the perfect time to shift things and change things.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you were speaking to a young person who's, you know, in high school or fresh out of high school or whatever, and they're deciding what to do with their life, you know, they haven't ignored, they haven't, you know, made the cultural mistake of being sleepy, you know, where would you say to begin?
Where you feel needs you. You know what I mean? Like, that's where you start. It's like,
Follow
where do
your
you
gut.
feel?
Yeah.
Where do you feel would appreciate your input? Where do you feel, or where do you need to learn? You know what I mean? Like what can you give to a movement or an organization or a cause, you know, that is uniquely yours and uniquely you? And I feel like that is like you know, the biggest lesson in all this stuff is like, what is uniquely yourself?
Yeah, that is awesome. I love that. Okay. And now I'll go to what you've done again. So you've redefined the modern political pop song in Australia with songs like Jan 26. You've started a label to increase Indigenous representation in music. You've got a show on Apple Beats One called The New Australia. You've written with comic genius Matt Groening. You've written a children's book, won ARIA Awards. Your creativity is coming through so many formats. And if you zoom back and did that, you know, gut feel thing, if you went to the heart of everything, is there a single idea or feeling that's driving it all?
Legacy. It's like, what are you making that you can look back on or your grandkids or whatever can look back on in 80 years and great grandkids and look back on and be like, you know, my great great grandfather did this. You know what I mean? Like, and it stood the test of time. It's all about legacy. Like, for me, like, personally, it's about legacy. And I feel like to have something like stand the test of time, you have to change things around you. And you know, to sustain your own legacy, you have to build the success of others. Hence, you know, the record label, and, you know, hence the kids book. It's about sparking an idea in a kid that they may not have thought with them yesterday. You know, there's a few things that I always, you know, trail back to, and it's like, you know, you weren't that yesterday, you're this today, what are you going to be tomorrow? You know what I mean?
Awesome.
And so it's always about pushing yourself to try something new, and not having to try everything, but try something new. And that's what the book is about, is like being able to see yourself in another way. It's like, because, you know, I think kids need that. They need to be able to see themselves in different lights and different structures in different places and different industries, so they can be that. And so, like, that, those are always the things that I strive for my own career, is to try and change how it looks after I touched it. You know what I mean? Like, after I've been there, I want it to be a little bit different.
That's really fucking cool. I really, really love that and want to write it on my wall. Oh, that's, yeah, so good. Thank you.
Cool.
So you've just answered everything so bloody succinctly.
That's the other thing. Don't waste time.
Yeah, I fucking love it. It's great. You know, following from everything you've just said, you said in an interview with Conan, there's no point in me winning and doing all this stuff unless it reflects home. You've also given your ARI award to a local cafe in Shepparton so kids can pick it up and know that someone from their town won that award and envision their own dreams, which is so fucking cool. Seems like there's a huge part of you that cares so much about leaving tracks in the sand for the next generation in everything you do, which you've just confirmed. So if you went home to Yoda country, sitting, you're in your car right now, if you were looking at a kid standing outside that school today, what is one big piece of advice you'd give them?
School sucks, but go anyway. No, I think it's like, it's so hard because I had such a bad time at school. Like, I really didn't enjoy it. So, if I seen myself outside of school really hating it, like, I would, like, I'm not sure what I would say other than it turns out all right. Like, just keep doing what you're doing. It turns out okay, and then I drive off.
Yeah.
Just keep doing what you're doing. It turns out all right. Like, don't worry.
Yeah, and that's, great advice for, like, this time in the world for so many young people must feel pretty fucked, pretty
I think the things, like, all the things that I'd learned is just, like, never stop, never give up. Good work is hard work, but not all hard work is good work.
I love that. Can you be my wise uncle or brother? That's wonderful.
So it's like all good work is hard work, but not all hard work is good work. Just know the difference. And like, there's so much that, I want to do and I haven't done yet that I'll keep on making things. And so other kids know that they can make things too. You know what I mean? If I can make all these different things, you can make one.
Absolutely.
And
that.
There's room for you and there's room for everybody. You know what I mean? Like, there's room for everybody. Like, don't, it's a common thing that people, they quit after they get beaten once, but there's a real thing in sticking to your guns and being strong and in who you are, but yeah, I feel like the hard work is good work is hard work. That's my favorite.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. I felt that in my gut. I needed to hear that. Thank you. And I'm sure, everyone's going to appreciate this so much. So honestly, thank you so much for your time. I know you could be doing a million things with it, so I feel really honoured to have a tiny piece of it. Thank you.
There's not much to do in Shepparton, so I'm chilling.
Shep life.
Indeed.
A huge thank you to Briggs for his time on this podcast and the energy and creativity that he constantly puts out into the world. I honestly believe that we'll look back on Briggs as a major disruptor of not only our industry but Australian culture. And thank you for listening to this conversation on To Rebel in the Times. Join me over on Instagram to continue these conversations and subscribe to Rebel in the Times on any podcast player. And if you like what you hear, please leave me a review. I would absolutely love to hear from you. This podcast was made independently by Jack River with Jess Hamilton, Pete Covington, and Unified Artist Management.